Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm doing a Sailor Moon video instead of the usual Pretty Cure video because my Instagram feed these days is always filled with reposted and stolen Sailor Moon art from fan accounts because, you know, talent is hard to come by these days. But yeah. Even though Sailor Moon Super S is notoriously seen as probably the worst season, I honestly thought it had the best art. I really feel like the Deke dub of the original 90s Sailor Moon isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Honestly, I really like the voice choices, and I think they suit the Sailor Scouts and the rest of the characters like really perfectly, especially Terry Hawks.
I wish, oh shooting star, if Nephlite really cares for Molly.
It's just such a clear and youthful voice. It just suits Serena really well. And I also love the background music that Deke put. But overall, yeah, the voices are just very distinct, which is I think something the Viz dub lacks, because honestly the Viz dub, not really a big fan. I feel like a lot of the voices sound very similar, like Mars and Luna, they sound alike.
You and your stupid whacked out jokes are gonna totally wreck the great.
Okay, then let me prove to you it's not a dream.
Grandpa, you're going to see a doctor ever since you
Don't believe me? Well, all right then, I'll prove it to you.
Sailor Moon's best looking form is her super form. It's so beautiful and honestly underrated because I always see fan art of her first form, which to me, like, it's not all that hype. Sure, it's her first outfit and whatever, but the super form is probably one of the best magical girl designs ever. Transparent sleeves, like that ombre skirt, beautiful, and it doesn't get enough recognition as much as the regular. Even the inners and outers I think look amazing in super form, although the change is not big compared to Sailor Moon. They just look a lot cooler than the regular forms. Although most people have nostalgia of Sailor Moon from the first season, my experience growing up with Sailor Moon is a little bit different. Since I was like too young to catch it on TV, instead what we had was VHS tapes that my sister and my dad bought, so I just watched those, and a majority of them were season 3 and season 4. And, you know, I didn't have a lot of season 1 or season 2 episodes on the VHS tape. So a lot of my nostalgia comes from season 3 and 4. So whenever I hear people talking about how much they love the scene with like Sailor Moon and Queen Beryl, I'm just like, that doesn't really, it's not near and dear to my heart. My memories a lot comes from like the Sailor Moon birthday episode where they have to fight Kaori Knight, the one where Uranus and Neptune have to fight the hurdle monster from Eugeo, or even Super S with Pegasus. That's very nostalgic to me. Not so much first season at all. Similarly, I know Moon Prism Power is like the iconic phrase of every Sailor Moon fan's childhood, but for me it wasn't, since obviously, like I said, I didn't have a lot of season 1. So for me, the nostalgic transformation was always the outers, Uranus, Neptune, Planet Power. Those were the ones I saw the most, and I absolutely love the outer soldiers transformations. They're not too long, but they're also not too short either. They're just perfect and dynamic. I also liked how they randomly pointed a finger when they hold their lip rods. It's just so iconic. Okay, so even though I'm obsessed with green magical girls like Cure Mint and Mew Lettuce, I never really cared much for Sailor Jupiter. I don't know, not that she's a bad character, but my favorite Sailor Scout of all time is Saturn. Stephanie Beard from the Cloverway dub actually did the best Mini Moon voice, hands down.
It's fun, and all my friends are really nice too. Yes, please, Pegasus. Help protect people's dreams.
The others I'm not so much a fan of.
And why are you wearing your hair in my bunhead style?
To this day, I still find it very ironic how the Sailor Starlights each have 2 transformations, yet Saturn is never shown transforming in the show. Okay, so this one's not really an unpopular opinion because I feel like a lot of people agree with this and a lot of people don't, so it's more like a 50-50. But I really hate the finale of Sailor Stars, aka the finale of the entire Sailor Moon first anime, and this is because they kind of just wrote off all the Sailor Scouts, especially the inners, as super useless. And before I get a bunch of angry and like try-hard comments of people saying like, oh, well, you know, Galaxia's supposed to be the strongest. Yes, I know Galaxia is the strongest soldier besides Sailor Moon and Saturn, but I would have liked to see the inner soldiers at least get some successful battles and attacks in episodes prior before getting one-hit killed. Like, I don't have a problem with a one-hit kill. Like, she's OP, I get that. But in the previous episodes, the inner soldiers literally do nothing. For example, when they're fighting Sailor Tinyanko in the Colosseum, none of them attack her. It's just Sailor Starfighter who uses her attack. And in the episode when the inners claim, oh, we're going to protect you, Usagi, because we know the enemies are trying to get your starseed, they literally can't even make it to the rooftop to protect her from Sailor Tinyanko. It's like, girls, like, you're in your super forms. Doesn't that come with like high senses or whatever? But literally they don't do anything in that scene. And again, when they fight Sailor Lead Crow, they don't do anything. Like, they just get whipped. There's also that infamous battle where Sailor Mercury and Jupiter fight one of Sailor Leadcrow's phages, and their attacks do nothing, and Ray and Minako don't even transform. Just when Sailor Mercury is about to use an attack, presumably Mercury Aqua Mirage, Sailor Starmaker uses her attack, which of course works, whereas the Inner Soldier's attacks are always missing and never working, but that's just the writing for you. And whenever I bring up the fact that the Inner should have done more attacks in Sailor Stars, I sometimes hear people say, oh, well, the point of the season is they have to heal the phages. They can't kill them. They can't hurt them. So obviously they have to heal them. They're not doing that much attacks. And it's like, please, because in the first season, Sailor Moon has to actually heal Yomas because they turn into they used to be humans and they turn into monsters from the Dark Kingdom, and before she heals them with Moon Escalation, they have to attack them with fire and thunder. So it's like, it's not any different. They just wanted to make them useless. So yeah, basically I don't have a problem with Galaxia one-hit KOing them. I would just have preferred the Inners to do a lot more in the season to make up for that. The Stars manga is pretty lame as well. The soldiers still get one-hit KO'd. But I must say though, I really did love the Nehelenia arc before Galaxia showed up, because in these episodes, the Inners really seemed strong, and this is when they proved how strong they were to the Outers, and they actually had to save them. What I also like about Sailor Stars in the manga is when Sailor Moon actually goes into space, like literally, I think it encompasses the whole idea of Sailor Stars, because she's in space and, she has to fight Sailor Namasini and also Sailor Heavy Metal Papillon. It was just so cool seeing these other Sailor Senshi who, are unknown. And I think it just perfectly encompasses the whole, space magical girl theme with, the space background. It's such a pretty series of chapters. So it is kind of disappointing that she doesn't go into space in the 90s anime, but hopefully, we're probably going to see it in Crystal eventually. My favorite Sailor Moon attack of all is Moon Gorgeous Meditation. It's so beautiful, nicely animated, and it's in my favorite form, of course, super form. And I feel like the attack is so abstract, and shooting glass shards and the whole kaleidoscope effect, it's just very bizarre, but in a good way. And when I was a kid, I was actually really obsessed with how the monster shatters. This is kind of a small nitpick, but I really hated how in the 90s anime, Sailor Pluto was constantly being represented by the color purple. In Sailor Moon Crystal, they actually correct this, and they give her dark red or pink for her auras, which is a lot more suitable. Something that was really iconic about the 90s Sailor Moon was that each of the Sailor Scouts had one specific sound that represented them. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here they are. One of my headcanons is that the 4 Inner Soldier super attacks are actually a reference to their past lives. For example, Jupiter Oak Evolution, she has herself spin around and unleash these energy blasts. And in a first season episode, the ice skating one, either Luna or Artemis was talking about,
remember Luna? Princess Jupiter was a terrific skater.
And so basically I just apply that to the other Scouts' lives. Maybe Princess Mercury loved to play the harp and read books and stuff, and Mars was an archer, and all of Venus's townspeople were in awe of her beauty because she was the goddess of love. I think a lot of people share this opinion, but I do not like Sailor Moon Crystal. I just don't like the art styles, both Season 1 and Season 3. But I do love the art style in Season 4, aka the movie that's coming out. Alright, editing update. So the Sailor Moon transformation of the new movie came out a few days ago, and just as I feared, it is a copy of the 90s Moon Crisis makeup, with a lot less fluid animation, much to my disappointment, not so much to my surprise. But it directly follows the manga for the most part, and in doing so, it doesn't have any of the filler from the 90s that made the characters really fun and colorful and relatable. And I personally think that following the manga directly isn't always a good idea. A lot of people praise the original manga as oh, it's so much better than the 90s anime, but sometimes the 90s anime did stuff better that the manga did, such as the Scouts getting killed off too quickly, like I said before. Whereas in the 90s anime, because it's filler based, obviously they're going to stick around a little. But of course, there's stuff that Crystal did better, such as giving Sailor Saturn more screen time. So yeah, there's pros and cons about both the 90s and the manga version. And at the end of the day, I would love to see a third Sailor Moon anime that kind of combines them and also makes the Sailor Scouts seem strong. Although Sailor Moon is a staple anime and having a lot of female representation and depicting girls as heroes and all that, I still think the action leaves a lot to be desired. I talked about this in my previous videos, but compared to other magical girl shows like Preaker, there's definitely some scenes where Sailor Moon or the Inner Scouts are very easily able to run up and beat the monster's ass, but they just don't. For at the sake of the writing, they always have Tuxedo Mask with Outers having to jump in and save them. And I basically wished for them to be depicted as more powerful. Honestly, the first few seasons, the action is pretty decent, but as it goes along, like 3, 4, and 5, they're much more reliant on like Tuxedo Mask, the Outers, and especially the Starlight. So, and yeah, I know they don't necessarily have to show the Sailor Scouts punching or kicking because it's obviously not the style of Sailor Moon's action, but what I'd like basically is for them to use their powers and have it not miss or have it, be blocked by the enemy, whereas Sailor Uranus's attack always seems to work, you know what I mean? And keep in mind, these are just general statements. I do know there's a lot of episodes out there where the Inners or Sailor Moon, do some cool things where they don't need Tuxedo Mask or the Starlights, but just generally speaking, a lot of times they do, so. Masahiro Ando is one of the animators of the 90s Sailor Moon anime, and his style is kind of infamous because he usually gave the characters like rounder heads from the usual default style. And I honestly thought his style looked okay in the first 2 seasons because it kind of meshed well, but in 3, 4, and 5, I feel like it was totally off-putting, and I really didn't like it. I mean, just look at how different Uranus looks in this scene. Before I get into my final big opinion, I want to do a speed round of mini opinions. I hate when they say Sailor Guardian in the Viz dub. I much prefer Sailor Soldier or even Sailor Scout. I'm obsessed with the old Sailor Moon English logo. It looks super badass. The new one's alright, but it's fine. A logo's a logo. Sailor Mercury is my favorite of the Inner Scouts. Even though I'm obsessed with the color green, I honestly thought Sailor Pluto and Sailor Neptune's hair was too green in Sailor Moon Crystal. I loved it in the 90s when Sailor Pluto had dark hair and Sailor Neptune had kind of a teal. The Sarah Miu musical costumes are unbelievably beautiful and glittery, and I would love for them to use them in an anime adaptation, but it's not gonna happen. And lastly, although I'm not a fan of the Viz dub, I'm really grateful and thankful that they picked the series up because it gave it a wide resurgence of popularity in the US and, everywhere else. But yes, onto my main final opinion. If you're one of those Sailor Moon fans who are bashing other Magical Girl animes and saying they're all ripoffs, shut the fuck up. There's nothing wrong with picking Sailor Moon as your #1 favorite Magical Girl anime, and if you simply don't like other Magical Girl shows, that's fine. But it gets to a point, for example, on my Sailor Moon vs. Preacher video, there's also a lot of people saying, why is this even a video? Sailor Moon is the mother of Magical Girl animes, everything else is a copy or it's obsolete. And it's okay, I've been there. I used to be ignorant too, but really though, because when I was into Sailor Moon as a kid and 13, 14 years old, I literally hated Preacher. I hated Tokyo Mew Mew because I was Sailor Moon is the OG, what are they doing? So I get it. But once you actually watch other Magical Girl shows, you see that it's less copies and rather a genre itself. There's a lot of stuff that Magical Girl animes like Precure or Madoka or Magical Girl Raising Project do that is arguably better than Sailor Moon, such as more action or more interesting character designs and stories. So I just think writing off everything as a Sailor Moon ripoff is very silly, super silly. And with Precure, they must be doing something right if they have over 700 episodes. They started since 2004. And with Sailor Moon, we can't even get a proper reboot going on. So, I don't know. I'm not trying to bash Sailor Moon either. Obviously, this video is a Sailor Moon fan video. So, don't try to come for me. But yes, guys, those were my random Sailor Moon opinions. Tell me yours down below.